Today is National Coming Out Day, and last night, a trans woman made her voice heard.
It happened during a CNN Town Hall with 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke. Take a listen.
Black trans women are being killed in this country, and CNN, you have erased black trans women for the last time. Let me tell you something. Black trans women are dying. Our lives matter. I'm an extraordinary black trans woman, and I deserve to be here.
An exchange followed with CNN moderator Don Lemon as activist Blossom C. Brown blasted the network for not having any trans people speak at the town hall.
That's how anti-blackness works among people of color. That's what anti-blackness looks like. The erasure of black trans people. Please give us that opportunity.
Blossom, thank you so much, and we appreciate it.
There are an enormous amount of black transgendered women getting murdered in Texas. Let's just call it what it is. And to not have had one of the first couple of speakers be a black transgender seems a bit tone deaf to me.
Her name is Blossom Brown.
Blossom Brown.
Hey, Blossom.
As activist Blossom C. Brown.
She is a wonderful example of somebody who wants to give back to the community, and she's just a really great person.
Hello, America. I hope everyone is doing well on this great Sunday. My name is Blossom C. Brown, and this is Miss Blossom's Corner. I was born October 20th, 1986, to Denise and Kenneth Brown in Greenwood, Mississippi, the birthplace of blues. And my name that they had given me was Contravis Kendrell Brown. I was kind of more in a very strict household. With both of my parents, they expected a lot out of me. They divorced when I was about 8 years old. I definitely took my parents' divorce hard. It was really difficult for like my dad not necessarily being in the same house. I'm the oldest of 4, so trying to carry all of that and, you know, making sure my siblings are okay was just, it was a little bit hard at times. And my parents never really confronted me about my sexual orientation when I was younger, but I'm quite sure that they knew. I'm quite sure that my dad saw me being very feminine and not wanting to do a lot of masculine things. I hated having to go to the barbershop and getting my hair cut, but my dad used to make us go every other weekend just to go get my hair cut. And I was just like, oh my God, this has to stop. I was used to want to hang up under my mother and be around my sisters. I secretly was playing with dolls when they were out of the room. I really didn't understand what transgender was at that young age. I just knew that I wished so much that I was a girl, but I didn't know that there was a term for it. I didn't learn about that until I was much older. I had feelings of femininity, but then I looked and dressed very masculine. And so I wasn't understanding why did it have to be this way. I really am curious to know if my mom did know the entire time, if my dad knew the entire time, and why they didn't tell me. I would never forget, and oh God, my parents are gonna kill me when I say this. When I was in kindergarten, when the teacher would call roll, I used to say that my name was Brittany when when she would call my name. And of course, she actually believed me, but the students were just like, that's not his name. I've always been fascinated with the letter B, and I don't know, like I just... So I'm applying my favorite foundation. Makes me feel confident in who I am, my transition, and just my femininity.
How did I meet Blossom? Interesting. I met Blossom actually on social media. I thought she was attractive and interested in her, and just decided just to hook up, in a mutual friends meeting type of atmosphere, and it turned out good, but it ended up being as like a friendship. It's one of the best friendships I actually have. I had got into a situation with some of my roommates, and I didn't really have nowhere to go. And Blossom, she was like, I don't have much, but whatever you need, I got you. If you need somewhere to lay your head, that's fine. She looked outside of, just, the dating part, looked at, just being trans, being a black trans person trying to just survive out here. I actually love the fact that she was trans, and it actually felt good to have somebody here, and not just being trans, but a person of color and understanding, like, what it's like and what it feels like, especially both of us being from the South. It was just so many understandings that you just you knew without saying it.
So we are here because today is my pre-op for my surgery. My surgery is a week from today. I'm really nervous, but I'm super, super excited, and we'll see what happens. Like, I have been going on a roller coaster of emotions all week, but we're finally here at this point, and so I'm ready to do it.
The morning of, when you wake up, take a shower. Don't put any lotion or anything on your skin, and no products in your hair, and don't wear any makeup. In order to access the forehead and then the parts of the jaw that they're going to work on, they have to stretch skin. And in doing that, they sort of stretch nerves that supply sensation. A very rare complication of the surgery is that they damage motor nerves, which are nerves that supply the function of your face, your ability to move your face. So that's something we take great care to avoid, but it is a risk associated with the surgery. So what I want you to anticipate is that just be mindful that if you are in a lot of pain, you can be given medication that will calm that pain down. Alrighty?
Yes.
So she'll come in and sign the consent form, and then you are seeing anesthesiology today. And then if you have any questions between now and surgery, just give me a call.
All right, will do, Kayla.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yes, we're good. I went to Jim Hill High School in Jackson, Mississippi. I was really more of a geeky kind of kid. I was much more of a follower, not a leader. I was really coming from a hurt place, having to deal with people making fun of me. My junior year of high school, which was November of 2003, there was a blood drive that happened. I wanted to use this opportunity to, first of all, know what my blood type was, and then second off, just really be able to help someone in need. And so I went on ahead and did it. And about 2 weeks later, I got a call from the health department asking me to come in for more testing. So the lady told me over the phone that one of my preliminary results was that I had HIV. And she told me, sometimes this happens when it comes to testing, and that you just need to come in. You may not be positive. And so I took it with that grain of salt. And, she told me what my blood type was, which was B positive. And the lady told me, be positive that you're not. And that's where they broke the news to me that they had tested my blood 6 times and that I was positive for HIV. It was really a difficult time for me. There was this website that was targeted more towards high school students and college students. And at that time, I just wanted to be validated. I just wanted to be loved. I ended up meeting a guy off of there. He was a lot older. He was an adult. So I was just like, okay, I could date older men. You know, maybe I'll feel good about myself. He ended up being the one who actually passed HIV on to me. And it's interesting because right before I found out, he ended up leaving Mississippi and moving to Texas, and I never heard from him again. A lot of the sex was very unprotected. I didn't really know better because in Mississippi, the whole conversation is much more about abstinence and not about condom usage. I really thought that he would be the one. I thought that we were going to end up in a nice house, living together, nice cars, having these great careers, but none of that actually happened. Instead, he was not truthful to me. I just learned that I was a pawn in a game, and I checked out. I was angry. But I knew that I would never want to do that to anyone else. I remember my mother telling me that my father was just like, you know, we might as well just have an insurance policy for me. When I heard that, I was very just distraught and taken aback by that. One time I thought about joining the military. And because of my HIV diagnosis, I was told that I couldn't do that. And then going to a predominantly Black high school and having to talk about my HIV status, I knew that that would be very difficult for me. But I went on ahead and did it because I thought that the friends that I was surrounded by would be very loving and very supportive. I thought that the secret would be amongst friends. But it's high school. All of a sudden, the whole school knew about my HIV diagnosis, including one of my favorite teachers who I loved being in her class. I loved learning from her. Had actually told her other class that she was teaching that how stupid can you be to say that you are HIV positive? And that actually got back to me. That one of my favorite teachers who I thought the world of actually said that to a class. I decided right then that I wanted to live because a lot of times it's about how you want to see yourself in the future living with this virus. It's about you making a decision whether you want to live or you want to die. After high school, I pretty much kept it a secret to myself and my family, my friends, or those who I was very intimate with, like in a relationship with or whatnot. Like those were the only ones that knew. And I kept that up for 12 years. So all through college, no one knew about my HIV diagnosis because I was dealing with another issue about the fact of me being a transgender woman. All right, y'all, I'm all strapped up and ready for surgery. This is such a life-changing thing for me. I was crying earlier, trying to dry out my tears. I'm so happy that my journey starts here again. This is my rebirth. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's just, you know, this has been a journey for me. And I'm so happy that, you know, I made it. I'm so happy, y'all. I'm so happy.
The trans community is boycotting the Breakfast Club because your music and your ideology reinforces transphobia that kills us. We are not a joke.
Trans people are not a joke. Trans people are not a joke. Just the other day, Charlemagne the God let Lil Duval talk about killing Black trans women. No, just the other day, Charlemagne the God let Lil Duval.
We are not a joke. We are not a joke. shirt, don't touch me.
That the Breakfast Club allowed to talk about black
I'm sorry.
trans women. Do you understand that?
They laughed about it. There's nothing humorous about it.
They're responding to a comedian who was on the Breakfast Club this week, and he was asked a question. He was asked if he had sex with a trans woman, and then found out later on it was a guy. What would he do? And his response was, somebody would have to die.
No, he said I would kill a black trans.
And y'all laughed. And y'all thought it was funny. You
Charlamagne,
laughed.
you laughed at him.
You laughed.
And the team laughed at him.
You just a punk ass bitch. That's what you are.
You can't do that. That's a hate crime. That was my immediate response.
You need to stand up for black trans women by reinforcing positive ideals of trans identity within the black community. You have a platform, use it.
I can say as a trans woman now, I don't always feel supported by some of my black cis brothers and sisters. We talk about in this country how when a black man is murdered by police, how we as a collaborative of all black people, whether you're cis, you're trans, you have to come and shout Black Lives Matter. And that's great. That's so wonderful. It's a powerful thing to do. But when a black trans person is murdered in this country and there's nothing but radio silence from our black cis brothers and sisters, I have a problem with that. We need to be doing so much better. We need to have everyone at the table. We need to be very inclusive. We need to be very transparent. And we've got to do better within the black spectrum. You know, some people always compare being trans to the civil rights movement of being black. Well, here's the thing. Back in the 50s and the 60s, it was discrimination. And discrimination has taken on so many different forms into what it is now. Now, discrimination focuses a lot more on gender identity, being trans, being gender nonconforming, being queer, whatever it is you identify as. And I feel like that particular conversation has not really gone anywhere within the black community. And so we still have a lot of work to do.
When it comes down to the trans community, you know, as a whole, I would have. It's kind of hard because yeah, we are one community, but we're also, when it comes to race, plays a factor. You know, we don't have this. Black trans don't have the same struggle as white trans. Like I said, I'm a black man when I walk out the door. No one even sees a trans man. They see a black man. You know, for a trans woman, it's a little harder for her to walk out the door and be herself. Not even just, you know, being trans, but just of our culture. Like, you know, that's one of the hardest things. It's hard to even be a gay black man, let alone a black trans woman. And our community itself, our black folks itself, are the ones that's beating them up more than any other race. And it's like, when are we gonna stop and say, you know what, it is what it is. You don't have to like it, but respect it.
There you
I'm so happy to see all of you. I'm happy for you, honey. They kept on giving me updates and they kept on calling and they said everything went well. Everything went well. I like a pic. And to show you? Okay. I'm gonna do a little flashy flash. Let me see your thumbs. Thumbs up. Yeah, they did some things to you, honey. They did some things. It's going to be swollen, but it's going to look amazing. They were able to cinch this portion down a lot more. They were, because it was stretchy enough that they brought your hairline down, almost making this portion invisible. So you actually have a nice hairline coming in. They were able to, so they were working around this area, the area they told you about, which is the chin area. So they went ahead and they shaved down the jawline. When they got to this portion, they had a little difficulty because that's what they were talking about. It's attached to the muscle and stuff like that. But they were able to use sutures to bring it in some. They still went under the bone and shaved underneath. So it's going to be good. And as far as your nose, they took 5 centimeters from each side and they did this and they narrowed this part. She said you're definitely going to be able to tell once the swelling goes down, it's a big difference. And I can tell right now, it looks like a big difference. It's going to look amazing. Right now, I am excited. It's been a long 8 to 10, 11 hours just waiting for the results. And now she's here, and I just feel so honored to be part of this whole process because I myself am going through it as well. Honestly, right now, I live in fear, looking the way I look and having this sense of masculinity. And for me, it's a sense of freedom and being able to not pass. I'm not looking to pass. I'm not looking to pass as a cisgender woman. What I'm looking to do is feel comfortable within my own skin. And I think once I get the surgery and I'm able to, look in the mirror and see who I was intended to be, that's kind of going to be the moment where I'm going to be like, I'm free. I'm finally free. I'm finally free from this body that I currently have. And I can start, being happy. Yeah. Girl, I think I was home. It was hours. What's the last part? The last part. Oh, got it. You put it's Homy. What is this last letter? Look at it. It looks like you're putting something completely different I don't want to say. Girl, the way I'm reading this, it says horny. She's saying, peace, y'all. I'm gonna go to sleep.
So you guys, tonight I've got something on my mind that I kind of want to talk to you guys about, and I'm sure that many of you out there can relate to it. When trans women like me want to become our authentic selves, there's so much that we have to go through. Our goal is to be that most passable person, that most passable woman that we could be in society, as society would supposedly accept us more that way. When we look at people, we always think sometimes that they have it all together, but we don't realize that, hey, sometimes they're human too, and they don't always have it together. And, me as a person, I can't always say that I have it together, but I'm proud of the person that I'm wanting to become. I'm proud of where I am today, and I want to go further. It's just that I have to get over some barriers.
I know when I started out, I didn't always have this beard. I didn't always look passable, as they call it. The misogynistic terms that we use still. It wasn't always. It's sad that we use that past privilege, but at the same time, it was safety for some people. We had to learn how to bridge this gap of accepting no matter what.
Surgery transitioning at 20, but I knew in my mother's household it wasn't really acceptable. I wasn't in a place to have that conversation with my mom just yet, as far as like my transition. You know, again, being the oldest of four, having to be the example. And I really struggled a lot internally because I really wanted to be myself. And I knew I didn't want to go 20, 30, 40 years not being able to be the person that I was meant to be. And so what I would do is I would go out of the home, out of my mom's house, dressed who I thought I should be and who I was, and then would have to come home pretty much as someone else, feeling miserable and not feeling like myself. I was actually working at a health food store, and I was also going to college at the same time. When I worked at that health food store, I would never forget. I had a project at school, and after I did my presentation, I actually went up to my job and, you know, just to say hello, just to check in with everybody. And I was dressed the way that I thought I should be, the way that I felt most comfortable. And the amount of support that I got that day was truly incredible. I would never forget. My manager told me, she said, if you want to come to work dressed like this, I will support you. I will go upstairs. I will fight for you. Anything it takes. Even though at home I couldn't do it, I was still willing to come to work every day dressed like this. And it felt so awesome and it felt so empowering to kind of be myself. When my mother found out, I would never forget. So pretty much the store was below sea level. So anytime it would rain, the store would pretty much flood. And I would never forget. So I'm at work one day and it had been pouring raining. And we were about to flood yet once again. And so I think I had just finished with the last customer and I wanted to go help my colleagues clean up the store and stop the flooding. Before you knew it, it was 6 inches of water. And I remember running from the cash register, trying to catch up with my colleagues. Some kind of way, I slipped, fell in the water, hit my head on the naked floor, and was knocked unconscious in 6 inches of water. I would never forget that. What ended up happening was, I remember my colleagues trying to wake me up, trying to get me to snap out of it. Like I was going in and out of consciousness. And they had to break into my phone. They were able to call my mother and my stepdad. And luckily the hospital was literally right across the street from where I worked. And so they had actually rushed me there. While I was waiting to see the doctor, you know, my parents had came. And that was when I actually told my mom, look, this is me every day. And it has been me. And it's always going to be me. She embraced me. She was just like, that's okay. You know, you're my child. Don't worry about it. We good. And to my surprise, I found out she was so much more accepting than what I thought she would have been. I actually transitioned full-time my sophomore year of college. So between my freshman and sophomore year, I was applying to nursing school. So roughly a total of 6 times between community college and the university I went to. But I just kept getting no. I kept taking the ACT test. I think I even we took some classes to try to get maybe higher, any classes that I had a B in, just try to retake them and get A's in. I did the best that I could. But I knew a good portion of the reason why I did not get in was because on my sophomore year, I had completely transitioned. I had completely started coming to school as a trans woman, and people were watching that. The entire college was watching that. And so when I graduated community college, I thought to myself, okay, you know, I've gotten 2 years under my belt. Let me try university. And so I ended up going to, the university was called the W. It's in Columbus, Mississippi. And I would say my college experience there was quite scary at first because I had newly transitioned completely and I was on campus and I was actually staying on campus. I had actually given up my apartment. Let me tell you something. Walking on campus, I would get some of the most craziest stares and glares because most people have never even seen a trans person. So it was very scary for me. But I knew that the goal was to try to get a nursing school there. And by this time, I had been denied 5 times. And so I went to go apply and I did not get in, but they actually put me on a waiting list. So that was much better. And with the waiting list, of course, I did not get in. By then, I had already maxed out the prerequisites and no luck of getting into the school. So I ended up coming across the Human Rights Campaign. I had heard that they were opening an office in Jackson, Mississippi, and I just knew that I wanted someone to hear my story.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Blossom Brown. It is so good to be here with my HRC family. Many of you will remember that I was up here on stage at this event last year. At that time, I had only been on an airplane once to come to this dinner. I wasn't sure about my future or where I'd go next, but I knew that I had a dream, and I was willing to fight for it. What a difference a year makes. Today, I've flown on a plane more times than I can count. And it all started because I volunteered to help with HRC's Project One America in my hometown of Jackson, Mississippi. Because of the friends I've made, and because I've been willing to speak up and speak out about the challenges of being a transgender person in the South, I've had the opportunity to share my story far and wide.
So you are graduating University of Mississippi?
Oh, it's Mississippi University for Women.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And now you're trying to get into nursing school.
Yes.
How many have you applied to?
It's been 6 times. I was denied all 6 times.
Because you're trans?
Mostly because I'm trans.
Shutterfly likes to help people tell their story, and they love your story, so we want to give you $20,000.
I had to have a reality check. So when I got back to school, there was not one mention by the staff that I was on Ellen, that I was on Caitlyn Jenner's show, I Am Kate. Not one mention of it. However, there was these 2 culinary students who so happened to be white. Also got a $20,000 scholarship in the culinary program. And their faces and stuff were blasted all over the school website, all over the school newspaper, but there was never any mention of me being on Ellen nor I Am Kate. And so then I thought to myself, institutional racism is still real. And that was my wake-up call because, you know, here I am finally being able to share my story, my struggle, because I know I'm not the only one going through this struggle. But then when I come back to the campus, I did not have a lot of that support like I thought I did. My professors were very supportive. So there was some support there, but as an institution itself, no. So basically what ended up happening was I knew I wanted to move. And so at this time I was really flirting with either moving to Los Angeles or moving to Washington, D.C.
Hey, LA, 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 LA.
I was just like, if it's red, I'm moving to LA. If it's blue, I'm moving to DC. And so it's funny because the cake ended up being blue, and I thought I was going to move to DC. It was crazy. But as time went on, I was like, you know, DC is cool. I'm not really a political person. I think I'm going to do better in LA. Because I had already had a little bit of the platform because of HRC, because of Ellen or whatever, I was just like, okay, so maybe it'll be a little bit easier for me to move into entertainment.
So I am a woman of transgender history. I transitioned as a teenager 24 years ago. I met Blossom at a film festival here in Los Angeles about 2 years ago. And it was after we viewed a documentary about Marsha P. Johnson, who was one of the great pioneers in our transgender rights movement. There was a sad note to this documentary in that it was revolving around the investigation around her questionable death in 1992. I remember at the end, during the question and answer session, Blossom stood up and with a lot of just heart and emotion said, "Black Lives Matter." And I saw in that moment how fierce she was and that she was a powerful woman of conviction who wasn't afraid to use her voice.
I first met Blossom at a Now More Than Ever meeting, and it's an artist collective that my best friend Rain Valdez founded. And Blossom and I, we just fell in love. I mean, I'm 6'1", she's super tall, and she's just an angel. So we hit it off from the beginning. So Now More Than Ever is an artist collective featuring a lot of LGBTQ artists and actors and writers and creators. And we come together, we produce, we do table reads, and it's just such a wonderful, unique group in Los Angeles here. Blossom and I, we both co-produced Lit Girl with Sarah Parlow, and it's sort of like a PSA for transgender women. The purpose of Lit Girl was just to shine a light on the trans women's maybe experience and maybe to educate, actually. Yeah.
Well, I'm Devin. My friend Kyle here, he isn't religious or anything, but he told me after seeing you from across the room, he believes in angels.
Wow. And you actually take him out in public with you?
Yeah. I'm trying to do more charity work this year.
Well, if you do good things, they will always come back to you.
My charity case and I were just headed out.
Is this where you hit me up for a donation?
Look, I know this might be kind of forward, but it's really hard to meet people in real life these days, so could I maybe have your Instagram or something?
Instagram. The new digits.
I swear I'm not a creep. You just seem like a cool girl.
Can I just be straight with you about something first?
Anything.
When I start talking to a new guy, I like to be honest about the fact that I'm trans.
Wow, I did not see that coming.
Transgender.
There's been an unfortunate trend going on around for some time now. It's called fragile masculinity. And it happens when masculine behaviors become so extreme that they become dangerous.
But just as a reminder, heat-related illnesses are possible today, so please be careful. Stay hydrated, drink plenty of water. If you can stay indoors where it's nice and cool, that is ideal. Staying out of the sun is preferable as well. Check in on the elderly, the kids, the pets. Make sure everybody comes on indoors to class out there. And also the asphalt gets very, very toasty for the pets also. Okay,
How's everything going?
Going good, taking it step by step, day by day, with some new little friends. This is day 4, and some of the swelling has gone down, thank goodness. It was definitely an emotional process. You know, I cried right before the surgery. I think everything hit me all at once, and my good sister Lucy was there crying with me, holding my hand, and, you know, because it's life-changing. The face that's going to come out now was the face that was always inside of me. And I felt like it's time to bring that out. Because I thought both faces were beautiful. It's not about cosmetic surgery to me. It's just about me waking up, looking in a mirror, and looking into my true, authentic self. It's not all about beauty and brains and all that stuff. It's about how you get up in life and you feel confident about who you are. And the old face, I feel like it's going to always live inside of me. I don't dismiss any part of me. everything is a part of my journey, and I'm really, really proud of my journey. You know, it has some bumps along the road. That's okay, because how do you learn from those bumps? Life is about learning. It's about teaching, and it's about understanding. And so, for me, this was something that was life changing because I had such dysphoria up here, and now that dysphoria is gone, and I'm truly, truly so much more happier than I have been ever before. Post surgery, I am feeling so fantastic. So loving how it's coming together. It's still healing. I still have a little bit of numbness here underneath the chin, the jawline, which is going to take probably the whole year. But actually, it's coming together quite well. I really love it. And I'm not looking to be all passable and, you know, this, that, and the other thing or whatever. I just wanted to feel confident and be who I was. You know, this face was the face that was in here for so long. And for it to finally be out and coming out is truly, truly amazing to me. And I'm so grateful for the friends that were there with me every step of the way. I'm so grateful for my colleagues who've cared, my family who supported me, and you know, it's just it's just truly, truly humbling. I think people have this misconception of the way that I live my life. You know, there are some people out there that felt some type of way and have kind of attacked me for it, but you know, to those people I always say, forget you, hater, because it wasn't you that had to live with this dysphoria. It wasn't you that had to go through the trauma. It wasn't you that was crying at night. You know, you get up in the morning, look in the mirror, and you have one face, but then you see another face. I felt like my dysphoria has always plagued me since the beginning. Since the beginning of my transition, which I started transitioning at the age of 20. And at one point, I hated myself. I didn't even want to be around my own damn self. I'm so grateful that I'm in such a better place now, but some trans people get stuck like that because they don't have that moral support. You know, sometimes when you're trans, you can get kicked out of your home and you have to choose chosen family. I do feel privileged living here in California because they are much more about trans healthcare here versus being home in Mississippi where they're not. The way that I identify my sexuality is pretty much pansexual. So basically, for me, I'm blind to gender identity and sexual orientation. I'm more attracted to someone's inside versus like how they identify. And I decided to be open about that years ago because I felt like I was limiting myself by choosing these standards that someone has to be in order for me to be happy. For me, I feel that if I limit myself to these so-called standards, that I may be canceling out my true soulmate, to be honest. And who wants to do that, right? Right now, dating is not on the table. I just decided to take time to really start working on myself and really focusing on what I want, what I will put up with, and then what I won't put up with. And one thing I can honestly say is rediscovering myself and what I want. It's really a big thing to me. It's really opened up my world, and I feel like I've found out more things about me than I have in such a long time. Now when I wake up, I don't have this disgust about myself. This surgery really helped bring out the real Blossom and brought out the more confident Blossom that has always been there, but she just needed a little help getting out. All right, so this is my new vision board. This is kind of a snapshot of what I'm wanting to achieve within the next few years. You know, I'm already a producer and I want to get more into producing and, you know, hopefully directing maybe. It's funny right here. I have the some amazing, hardworking, beautiful Black trans women from the cast of Pose. For me, it's not necessarily that I want to be on that show. It's that within the next 2 to 3 years, I plan on being on a network television show, whether it's reality or scripted. The big thing is nursing school, yes, is still in the plans. These two are actually very
similar in my life, they kind of play off each other. And they have been doing that since I was a kid. And it's just like the Libra balance in me, because I'm going to actually do both. And this woman right here is the incredible Lisa Nichols. So Lisa is like a motivational speaker. She's like a life coach. You know, I just want to look up to dope, inspiring Black women of all kinds. Once everything comes into play, I think I want to start doing life coaching. So we'll see how that's going to go. I do believe in myself enough to do it. I know it's very hard work. And it's one of those things where you have to be careful because you don't want to sound like a hypocrite. And I think that's kind of like what I want to work on now. And so just doing the work on myself and being able to empower and inspire others around me.
When trans people fought for marriage equality, we stood with the rest of our LGBT brothers and sisters. We stood with you. And we need you here now more than ever to stand with us.
It's very hard for trans people like me when it comes to dating, because so many of us within the community are being murdered at such crazy rates. It's very scary. It's very, very scary. It doesn't get that same media attention that some of these like other celebrities, some of these other groups of people who experience violence go through. We're in a state of emergency and people are not willing to talk about it. And it's very scary to me that other people within our LGBTQ ... spectrum don't even allow that to be recognized. They're not paying attention to it. And when it's something that, when it's an issue that maybe affects the lesbian community, the gay community, the bisexual community, and on in that, you know, they're always looking for trans people to stand behind them. And we do, but we just also need those same people to stand behind us. Just the other day, a trans woman named B Love was just shot and killed in Florida. Actually, her hands were tied and she was found burned in her car.
That's her car. I know that. I know her car.
Kennard Wade says his best friend is the one Hendry County Sheriff deputies found dead. You can still see the charred grass from where the car went up in flames. Wade says the two have known each other for 6 years and that his best friend wasn't afraid of anyone who didn't agree with her.
A really, really sweetheart. And she's never harmed anyone, never put anyone in harm's way.
But he says someone wanted to harm her. And he says in these texts the night of the car fire, she knew it, telling him she wanted to leave town.
I think to myself, wow, these girls look just like me. These girls look just like me. In any given moment, it can be me. Yes, all trans lives are supposed to matter, but it's also important to say that Black trans lives matter too, because there's a lot of anti-Blackness that comes from within the trans community and within the LGBTQ spectrum as a whole. Yes, trans people are some of the most vulnerable folks out there. You know, we experience a lot of trauma, we experience a lot of violence, all of those things happen. But you got to start peeling back those layers and start seeing who does it affect more. You will see that it affects Black trans women and it affects Latin trans women as well. Those two groups alone experience the most violence. My Black trans sisters need your help. We can't do this alone, to be honest. One word that I would say that I would think of for this journey is empowerment. Empowerment will probably be the one word that I want to say, because I want to be empowered to follow my goals. I want to be empowered to follow my dreams.
I want to be empowered to find new relationships. I want to be empowered to strengthen my friendships. I want to be empowered to do the best job that I could do. I want to be empowered to be in certain spaces that we're not allowed to be in as a trans person. I want to be empowered to be the influencer that I am. I want to be empowered to do every single thing I was meant to do on this earth.
I want my trans community to start loving each other, loving yourself for who you are. There are too many of us out here that have so many capabilities of changing this world. We gotta stop fighting each other and start fighting the ones out there. And to Blossom, I love you for who you are, and continue doing what you're doing. You are making a difference.
No peace, no justice, no peace, no justice.